So here's the second half of the overclocking requirement, is a solid piece of power delivery. As you can see, we've had two, I think this is we've only had two Corsair parts on this, but the case is actually Corsair as well. It kind of makes me look like a Corsair fanboy, but I picked their products for a reason, and that's really because of the warranty. Like I was telling you on the water cooler, I mean, they even replaced the guy's computer. And for the power supply, it's exactly the same. I've had many different power supply manufacturers, and the Corsair power supply has been rock solid for me and for just about every one of my friends I've installed it on. The one time we had a problem, Corsair immediately swapped it out and even sent the power supply replacement first so that he wasn't down for longer than the day it took to swap it out. And what even stacks even higher is this comes with a all their power supplies comes with a 7-year warranty. 7 years, that's like unheard of in the IT world. I mean, usually you get like 3 years, like at a good one, 5 if it's like, you know, you really pay an high price, and like 1 if it's standard. But 7 on a part, especially a professional performance branded part that they're saying is their enthusiast brand, I mean, that's pretty good. Another reason why we picked this one is because it's 80+ gold certified. What that means is that it's guaranteed to perform at 80% power conversion efficiency. Now, all a power supply does is take alternating current from the wall, AC, and convert it into DC, direct current, voltages that our computers run on. 12 volt, 5 volt, and 3.5 volts, I think it is. But that's all it does. It just converts the power into stable direct power that the power supply can use in the wattages that you need. So why did we pick 750? Well, we're overclocking. So overclocking the processor is going to make this processor draw a heck of a lot of power. Now, probably the processor and motherboard is only going to get up to probably about 425 watts, even overclocked. But this is a maximum number. This is like its best day. Like when it's pushing really hard, it can maybe get up to 750. That's what they're basically saying with that. Plus you still have to worry about hard drive, SSD, a graphics card if you have one in there, which we don't. But we got the extra power so that it's there. That the power supply is not running at its hardest. It can go 24/7, which means it's less stress on the power supply, longer lasting, and will run cooler than if we got, you know, like a 500 watt, which is like right above what we would need probably to get this guy going. And that power supply would be running full utilization, full blast. All of the components and circuitries would be running as hard as they could. This would get really hot and just add to the heat problem, which is the first piece of our overclocking goal. So we want it stable, and we're not stressing it, and it's power efficient because we're going to be running the server 24/7. So you guys can be playing when it's 5 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning. Also, another good feature about the HX is it's got this giant 140 millimeter fan on it, so it's nice and quiet and keeps it cool. This is probably the longest chat you'll have about a power supply with somebody. Just shows you the various connectors that this power supply has. And we'll just go over. This is the one to the motherboard I showed you. This is that CPU power connector to the top left of the motherboard, if you remember. That is a power connector for a video card. That is for SATA drives, like hard drives and CD-ROMs. And this is for old style drives, like really old drives. And that's for floppies. But a lot of peripherals and like card readers and sometimes even TV tuners or sound cards may use that connector. So it's kind of evolving into a peripherals connector instead of just the floppy. They still call it the floppy connector, but it's changing. It's staying around. Down here is a little graph showing you how awesome and efficient it is, which means nothing to you or me, but it looks cool like on a graph wise. They are trying to sell it, of course, in the virtual store that you never see it in. What these numbers down here, if you want to get into it. If not, you can just skip ahead. This is how you pick out a good power supply. And this is where all the actual, what really matters. And this is this max load. That's what I was telling you about, how they come up with that 700 watt number. And you don't really care about the 3 volt. You don't really care about the 5 volt. As a gamer, you care about this 12 volt rail. Now, some power supplies will say 12 volt 1, 12 volt 2, 12 volt 3, 12 volt 4. And what that means is they're actually packing in multiple components of cheaper power supplies to give you the power that they're selling. But that equates to you actually having to use the right connectors. This is where it gets all complicated and stability goes out the window, because if you have 12 volt, because that's what this is, 12 volts. So if you have 2 of these connectors and both of them come from 12 volt 1 and your video card needs 2, you really need one from 12 volt 1 and one from 12 volt 2. And that will balance the power supply and it would work efficiently. But if you have both from 12 volt 1, then you're tipping the scale of the power supply to one side, and the power supply actually overheats, stability, burn out the whole power supply. That's where it goes out the window. A good power supply for gaming has a single 12 volt rail, meaning that the whole power supply is one piece of conversion, and that is being outputted across all the boards. So you have steady power, all coming from the same source. It's all rock solid. You don't have to worry about overloading it, overheating it. You stay under the 750 and you're good. I think my light is giving out. Anyways, I'll open up the top so you can see it. Of course, cool. When I turn off the camera, it comes right off, just like that. And show you that it's never been opened. So this is just saying, you know, that you can tell that these are brother and sister models, the 750 and the 850. It's a pretty big power supply. They give you a really hefty, awesome cable here. And I tend to believe that it's probably a thicker gauge than is needed, but it's really thick and would definitely transfer power very well. Over here you get this nice little cool pouch. They pretty much include this in all of their power supplies that have modular cables. Now you're probably wondering, what's modular cables and why is that good? If we open this up, you'll see, look, here's all the power supply cables. Well, wait a minute, aren't they supposed to be attached to the power supply? Yeah, but there's a reason. And you'll see shortly that they're detached. There's a reason why they're detached. Another cool thing they give you is this like mesh bag, or this felt bag that the power supply comes in. You can use it like store like headphones or, you know, network cables when you take your computer to a LAN party or something, or your friend's house. You know, you got a nice little bag you can put all your stuff in. They use it to ship the power supply in just for nice, but I mean it has use after. Alright, so if you've ever seen somebody's like custom computer that didn't have modular cabling, you'll know what I mean. Or you've looked inside your own computer and you're like, wow, like there's all these cables coming out of this box at the top that goes all these components, and these cables are all in the way, and there's even some extra cables left over. What are these for? Well, they're not really for anything. They're kind of just extra, exactly what it is. And they get in the way and they block airflow. So what the modular power supply lets you do is you only connect what you need for what you have. So these are the basic cables. These are that motherboard connector and the CPU connector, and every computer will use these, so they wire those in, and that's that. But over here you have these blue ones which go to your graphics cards. So if you only have one graphics card on a non-modular power supply, you'd have these other 2 extra cables just hanging here. You'd have to like tuck somewhere or do something with. And then these are for the peripherals and the SATA drives. So I mean, like, seriously, who has, in each of these plugs, like, does 2 or 3 devices? So who has 12 hard drives? I mean, some people do, but do you? Probably not. So why would you need all 12 of those cables just hanging around in your case? So this just lets you just use what you need, keeping cable mess and all that to a very minimum, and you can make your case look a lot nicer and neater, which you'll also see me do in the video later. The build quality on these is just absolutely crazy. I mean, the finish is incredible. And you can even see, if you've seen other power supplies, when you look inside, like, it has none of that crap glue all over it. It is absolutely clean, perfect solders everywhere in there. On cheaper power supplies, they kind of like glue all the components together, make sure that their crappy solder connections don't break. So I mean, you can just tell it's a really good, high-quality power supply, and will promote stability, which, as you guys know, server stability is one of the best things we could have. So it's worth every penny for us. On the back, you have a quick power kill switch. That's if you want to, like, you know, there's a thunderstorm or something coming, you want to cut the power to your computer. After you shut it down, you just flip that switch and you know that you're basically cut off from the grid. Like an extra layer of protection. A little sticker to show everybody you got an HX750. Ooh, awesome. Same thing on the other side. And then over here, every power supply has that same sticker of information with all the wattage and amperages. So if you're at a buddy's house or something and his computer's crapping out or something, you know, you can look at this sticker and be like, hey, I see your power supply's not up to code and snuff, and you got XYZ cable plugged in wrong. That's probably what's going on. And your friend will be like, what? This guy knows computers. And you'll be the coolest guy ever. But, or gal, but yeah. You'll also be super nerdy like me, I guess. But that's pretty much it for all our parts. Just a bit to add, all this stuff and information I've kind of gathered it over the years, so if it seems like a lot, it is. And if you're trying to get into computers or overclocking or putting them together, don't worry, it'll come with time. And I've probably put together and built at least 100, if not maybe 200 at this point, just from like friends or friends of friends or my own. Just over time, you'll start building one, and then you'll build 2, and then you'll build another one, and then next thing you know, you'll be building one like every 6 weeks, because you want to get even faster every time, because now you know how to make your stuff faster, or what you're wanting to swap out. You're going to do it, and because you'll be armed with the knowledge in order to fix stuff. So next video, which I'll be doing when we get the case, I'll go over the case. And I'll try to set up the camera to where I can do a time lapse of me putting it together. And I'll try to highlight other key things as we go through with a second camera. But I'll try to get as much information down, because I think it's I just want to share with you guys the actual building of the server, because I think it's cool, and I think some other players will probably think it's cool too. But like I said before, maybe some players just want to see how to build a computer, or how hard it is, or just watch, just hang out, man. All right, well, I'm going to go post these videos, and I'll see you guys soon.